odblokować. Spoštovane dame, spoštovani gospodje, dobrodošli ob začetku novinarske konference in predstavitve naložbenega sklada treh morij. I'll just shortly switch to English. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome at the press conference and the presentation of the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund. Na začetku imam čast, da k besedi povabim gostitelja, predsednika uprave SID banke, gospoda Sibila Svilana.
Lepa, spoštovane dame in gospodje, lep pozdrav v imenu SID banke na današnji tiskovni konferenci. Konferenca je namenjena vaši seznanitvi o mini virtualni konferenci Investicijskega sklada pobude treh morju, ki jo danes organiziramo v Ljubljani. Verjetno se boste spomnili, da je Slovenija maja lani gostila predsedniški vrh pobude treh morij in takrat smo prvič obširneje poročali o tej pobudi in našem sodelovanju. Od takrat je bil v okviru pobude ustanovljen investicijski sklad, ki je že lani pričel z delovanjem, ko je bil ustanovljen v Luksemburgu in sicer strani dveh delničarjev, to je Poljske in Romunije. V letošnjem letu se bo skladu pridružilo še 7 dodatnih držav, med drugim tudi Slovenija oziroma SID banka, in torej 9 držav od 12 v pobudi. Spoštovani, današnjim dogodkom želimo investicijsko dejavnost pobude treh morij v prvi vrsti približati slovenski poslovni javnosti in tudi širše slovenskemu prostoru. Pri tem bo ključnega pomena tudi sodelovanje zasebnega sektorja, tako pri sofinanciranju kot seveda kandidiranju projektov, da bomo lahko skupaj omogočili realizacijo dobrih, dolgoročno uspešnih in pa trajnostno naravnanih, pa tudi, bomo rekli, donosnih projektov v prihodnosti. Ti so predvsem na področju energije, transporta in digitalizacije, za kar je namenjen sklad, in so lahko tako javni, infrastrukturni ali privatni. Pri tem bi želel posebej opozoriti, da gre za drug način ali možnost pridobivanja finančnih sredstev kot do sedaj, ko smo pretežno delali to z dolžniškimi inštrumenti oziroma zadolževanjem. Gre tu za lastniško vlaganje, kar je v Sloveniji pomanjkljivost in zato je ta sklad tudi za Slovenijo pomemben. SID banka bo v sklad postopoma vplačala ali prispevala v bistvu 23 milijonov in bo s tem skušala slovenskim podjetjem oziroma gospodarstvu in pa seveda javnemu sektorju zagotoviti to vrstno dodatno financiranje, ki ga v Sloveniji primanjkljuje. Odločitev za vstop v sklad je bila sprejeta zaradi velikih investicijskih vrzeli in potreb, zlasti v infrastrukturnih projektih v regiji, na kar kaže tudi raziskava mednarodnega sklada, ki je pokazal, da bi države tega dela Evrope, torej srednje, vzhodne in jugovzhodne Evrope, potrebovale kar 600 milijard evrov v naslednjem obdobju, če bi želeli dohiteti države EU15. Glejte, spoštovani dame in gospodje, kako hitro lahko pridete iz Ljubljane v Zagreb ali na Dunaj ali v Prago z vlakom? Ne zelo hitro. Medtem ko v zahodni Evropi to ni problem, med glavnimi mesti vozijo hitri vlaki. Podobno je na področju obnovljivih virov energije in tudi v digitalizaciji. Slovenija kot majhno in izjemno odprto gospodarstvo potrebuje dobro razvito prometno, energetsko in digitalno infrastrukturo in seveda dobre regionalne povezave, če želimo biti uspešni. In delček potrebnega investiranja lahko zagotovi tudi investicijski sklad pobude treh morij. Vendar več o tem vam bodo povedali sedaj predstavniki vodstva sklada, ki so z nami, in predvsem boste slišali tudi, kaj in kako nudi to zadevo. Thanks for bearing with us for these introductory remarks. I just put few words about that, what is going on and how the conference will go on. And now I give over to Mr. Bergant.
Thank you very much, Mr. Svila. Now we have definitely switched to English because we want to be on equal terms with everybody, because we have also some viewers and listeners from outside Slovenia. So shortly we will start with the presentation by two distinguished members of the 3SIIF, which stands for the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund. Supervisory Board. Let me just have an information for our fellow journalists. You can ask questions to both speakers and also to Mr. Svilan during the presentation via the chat application in your conference application. And please state who do you want to ask the question. So put the name of the one you want to answer and state your question either in Slovenian or in English. Everything will be fine. So via chat version, you can ask questions. We will answer them then after the presentation. And now I'm really happy to announce Mrs. Beata Daszyńska-Muzicka, Chairperson of the Supervisory Board of the Fund and the President of the Polish Development Bank, BGK, which stands for Bank Gospodarstwa Krajowego. And we also see Mr. Paweł Nierada, who is the member of the Supervisory Board of the Fund and First Deputy President at Bank Gospodarstwa Krajowego. So, dear Polish guests and speakers, let's rock and roll. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. It is my pleasure to see all together during this mini conference. And firstly, I would like to thank you very much for our colleagues from Slovenia. Thank you, Sibyl, that you stick to the rules that we have to organize this mini conference, because it's very important to boost awareness about the 3Cs Fund and 3Cs initiative and how to distinguish the both initiative. So thank you very much for this introduction. I don't know Slovenian language, but I do my best to understand as much as possible. So let me switch into the presentation, and we put on the screen this presentation. Let me confirm that everything is okay. Can you see the presentation right now?
Yes, it is great. Carry on.
Thank you. Thank you. So firstly, the first slide shows you the 3Cs initiative as a presidential level. The three big gates as our seas, because we have the Baltic Sea, Adriatic Sea, and the Black Sea, and 12 countries, a very big international venture on the presidential level, which focus on the three sectors. And how to build this and develop these three sectors: energy, transport, and digital. Huge venture which started 5 years ago, and the first presidential summit took place in Dubrovnik, then in Warsaw, Bucharest, Ljubljana, and Tallinn last month. Why the 3Cs initiatives and the 3Cs region is so important? We have huge potential, huge economic potential in this region, because our total turnover is over 225 billion euro. Our total GDP, it is about 20% of total EU GDP. The total population in this region, it is over 111 million population, and 30% of the territory of EU. But at the same time, we have a lot of infrastructure gaps in this region, which should consume in up to 2030 almost 600 billion euro, only for these three sectors. And on the next slide, you can see how much money we need to spend only for road, railroads, inland and marine and transport, airports, electricity transmission, and electricity distribution, and also for the entire digital infrastructure. The first information and the first report about these needs was prepared in 2019 based on the spot data, but we can see the confirmation that this infrastructure gaps, it is must have, that we have to develop in this region. And this confirmation you can see in the IMF report, which was issued during the Tallinn summit, and it was September, the first release of this report. And also we have the Polish Economic Institute, which also confirmed this huge amount of money that we have to spend only to build the infrastructure, which will be comparable to the western part of Europe. As you can see on the next slide, the more information from the IMF report, the infrastructure investment is a key priority, especially if we want to fight with the pandemic crisis, because we have to focus more for more and better public investment, which help us to address the huge crisis which coronavirus bring us, and we don't know how long it will be with us, maybe forever, but we have to fight, and the infrastructure and the public infrastructure, it is one of the most important way how to manage this. So how everything has started. After the second summit, and why we decided to establish the 3Cs Fund. After the second 3Cs Summit, which took place in Warsaw, BGK as a development bank came up with an idea, okay, how we can support this brilliant idea of the 3Cs initiative on the presidential level, what we as a financial institution can do, and how we can support this initiative. And after our discussion on the management level, we came up with an idea, let's set up the fund. Okay, it is international venture, very difficult, because if you want to agree something only with 3 parties, it is difficult. If you want to build something which consists 10, 11, 12 countries, it is almost impossible. But we take this, we look at this as an opportunity, because we strongly believe it is something that we desperately need in this region. So we spent a number of hours visiting and met with all our colleagues from development institution to show them the potential of this region and how we can join our power as a financial institution, as a development bank, and set up this 3Cs Fund based on the commercial rules, but support and be as a trigger to thinking about the cross-border infrastructure which help to develop our region. So our first meetings took place in 2018 in Prague, and on a regular basis, every month we have a high-level meeting, and we develop only 8 months our legal framework and the strategy for the fund. And it was what Sibyl mentioned in May 2019 was the huge milestone, because we set up the fund, we signed a notary deed and registered this 3Cs Fund together with our colleagues from Romania. So we were first, which were most advanced in this process, and we were ready to open the 3Cs Fund. And we continue our cooperation as a 10, 12 countries. We still had a number of meetings, and we are looking for the investment advisor who has the profound knowledge about the infrastructure investment. And in February, during one of our mini conferences, as we have right now, but unfortunately this is only in the virtual world. In February in Riga, in Latvia, we had the official signing letter and the agreement with our investment advisor, and it was the turning point, because we can announce it is officially fund which can deliver the projects and can fully operational task. So in September we can announce, okay, we have the first pipeline, we are analyze the projects, and the fund really exists. To be honest, I heard many times that it is impossible to agree with 12 countries. It is the pipe dream. It is impossible to achieve this agreement and set up the international fund with 10 countries, 12 countries. But you are the witnesses that it exists. It is the real fact that we have the 3Cs fund, which support these brilliant initiatives on the presidential level, the 3Cs initiatives, and the whole region. I pass the voice to my colleague, to Paweł.
Hi, good morning. Let me take over. Let me give you a little bit of more detail about how the fund is actually structured and how it works. Now, as you may remember, the fund was set up on the 29th of May 2019 in Luxembourg. The fund is created under Luxembourg law, and the reason for that being that is universally understood by, in fact, all financial institutional investors in the world is a very common ground for setting up investment funds, international investment funds. But it's also, as you understand, the fund is for the 3Cs countries. So although we are all members of the European Union, we still have our own specific laws and regulations. So again, Luxembourg law is something very easy to understand and adapt in all our countries. Now, the fund was created in May last year. Currently, formally, there are 4 shareholders, so starting with BGK and Exim, but also recently Estonia and Altum from Latvia has joined the fund. And 5 countries are represented on the supervisory board, which is Poland, Romania, Estonia, Latvia, and Czech Republic. Now, the important thing to keep in mind that every single 3Cs country is allowed to have its representative on the supervisory board, whether or not the country is actually an actual member, actual shareholder of the fund. No, the fund is set up to operate on a fully commercial basis. I think an important feature, one of the most important features of the fund, and we will come back to this later, is that it is open and it actually is willing to attract other regional and international shareholders, in particular international financial institutional investors and private investors. Currently, I think it's fair to say that the fund, in the commitment with the fund, we are approaching 800 billion euro, and it's fair to say that hopefully by the end of this year we may be reaching 1 billion. The target size of the fund is to be somewhere in between 3 and 5 billion euro. Now, the key objectives are, as we have all discussed, the priority sectors are the energy sector, the transport sector, and the digital infrastructure. And the key objectives is the fund is going to, as it is commercially focused, it's going to invest only in the commercially viable projects or a part of projects, of larger projects that can be structured in the way that they will generate return to the shareholders of the fund. Well, obviously, the other key factor is that all these investments have to improve the interconnectivity and cooperation and throughout the 3Cs countries. And of course, the ultimate target from our perspective is that it has to improve the economic development of all other countries, also by introducing the state-of-the-art infrastructure. Now, in principle, the primary focus is on the greenfield projects, so the projects that are not there, to create a new additional value, but also on the projects that can be scaled up throughout the region, improving the wellness of all other countries. And of course, the focus is the long-term supply critical assets like I know, energy pipelines or energy interconnectors, this kind of investments. Coming back to the more details on the fund itself. Now the fund is structured as a, in Luxembourg they call it the CCAV, which is a structure that is relatively similar to the limited liability company. So we have you see on the top box, we have the three three classes of shareholders. One, I think, well, we can tell that there's a key type of shareholders that are core sponsors, which are institutions like seed bank, like BGK, so the development banks of the 3Cs countries. And it's important that the investment strategy and all the fund documentation was actually developed on the, as Beata was mentioning before, between all of us during the series of very intensive workshops. So we have set up the strategy. We have set up a strategy that addresses the key needs from our own perspective in our respective countries, and the investment strategy that focuses on developing our region. Now, but then again, the very important part of the idea is that the fund is in fact open to attract international other investors, like international financial institutions, so the people like EIB, like EBRD, like World Bank Group, and I think last but not least, the global financial institutional investors. So we all know that there is a lot of capital, a lot of money available in the world, but and in fact, the conditions, terms and conditions in current markets are extremely favorable in terms of returns and fees. But somehow, what we see that despite there is a lot of this capital, it's not present, it's not coming our ways in the amounts and pace we all would like to see. I think one of the reasons for that can be that in our part of the world we have a number of countries, but we are not the world's biggest countries. And from the global financial investor, is the amount of time and effort they have to focus on each particular investment in each of the countries is relatively similar. So so it's, in a way, it's kind of natural. They tend to focus on the very large economies like, I don't know, China or US, that they invest the same amount of time, but their potential returns are much bigger. Now, throughout this fund, we actually create an integrated doorway to our region. We actually opened our region for large international investors, so they will not be. They won't have to analyze one by one. They just got the product they can invest, and we have this dedicated professional asset manager with the proven track record that they can trust. They actually know and they can trust, and they can have this comfort that there will be a value created from the investments in our region. Now then, as I mentioned, the next box is supervisory board. I think again, everyone from the 3Cs initiative countries is invited to have a representative on the board, and that is the management board. Now, a seat in the management board is reserved only for the shareholders on the fund, with the minimum of 20 million euro commitment to the fund. As I mentioned, currently there are 4 shareholders of the fund: Poland, Romania, Estonia, and Latvia. But I think it's also fair to say that by the end of this year, there may be many more, hopefully including Slovenia. So we may approach almost everyone from the 3Cs initiative, with the exception of probably Austria, that Austria has actually opted out before from the fund. I think now on the left side you see it is actually a very important feature of the fund. The fund, the projects are reviewed and managed. Both one thing is by the independent fund manager and in particular investment advisor, the company named Amber, which was selected during the competitive process, and Amber is indeed a very experienced asset manager with a proven long track record of actually investing in exactly these kinds of projects we want to invest in. So infrastructure projects, long-term digital energy and transportation, but also, which is key, they demonstrated they had delivered interesting returns to the shareholders, but also they have, during the course of the investments, many, if not all of these investments were also on the very close relationship with the state, with the regulators, with the national administration, and with the people like EIB, EBRD. So they seem to be, and they indeed are proving to be, the perfect fit for our arrangement. And also one very important thing is that the decisions on actual investing or not in projects presented by the Amber is made by the independent investment committee. This is very important feature of the fund, because as I mentioned, we really want to attract a lot of international financial institutional investors' money, and they have to have this comfort that the investments are made on a super objective way, that there is indeed the best effort to serve the purpose of the fund, and the investment decisions cannot be influenced by any sort of particular current reasoning or political ventures. Just to complete, we have all the top-class professional administrative support of the fund. The fund auditor is Ernst & Young. The transfer agent and the depository bank is Credit Suisse, and the legal support is Cameron McKenna, which are all very reputable and globally recognized institutions. Now, I think to finish to complete the presentation, I think it's actually important to draw your attention to the difference. What is the 3Cs investment fund vis-a-vis the 3Cs initiative? Now, the 3Cs investment fund is I would say, is a financial tool, is a complementary financial tool to support the growth in our region. But it's still a commercially driven venture. The fund was initiated by the Polish Development Bank, by BGK, but then worked through with all the development banks, development institutions from the 3Cs region. And the first investors were BGK and Exim Bank, and we are excited to see possibly the Citibank joining soon, and other investment banks from the region. The fund dimension is purely economic. We have to, the aim of the fund is to invest in the funds and create that will boost, that first will bring return to the investors, but also they will boost the economic growth of the region, of the countries in the regions. Indeed, the focus of the fund is the three key sectors mentioned in the 3Cs initiative, which is transport, energy, and digital. And the geographic focus is exactly the same, which is the 3Cs countries, 3Cs in Asian. So you can say that clearly the fund is inspired by the 3Cs initiative, but it's something different in nature, is a financial tool, economic venture to create value for its shareholders and to the economies, while the 3Cs initiative is something much broader. 3Cs initiative is a political initiative started by the president, and but then following up with on the government region, and it's much broader than only the economic aspect. It embraces other fields of activities like education, healthcare, which is becoming especially significant these days, and I don't know, research and development, all this stuff. So the 3Cs initiative is a different thing in nature, while the 3Cs fund is something easy to understand for the boring people like bankers that I am. Right.
It is worth to mention and worth to add that the 3Cs initiatives has a three dimension: the political level and the presidential level. We need desperately the cooperation on the governmental level and support by financial institution. And only through this way, the smooth cooperation on these three levels, it will be only the only one factor that bring us to the success.
Right. I think this is
okay. This is
This is all from our presentation.
And we are open for discussion and questions.
Maybe I stop sharing the.
Yes. And we have some question on the chat.
Yes, thank you very much. We have questions indeed by journalists. So the first question was regarding the fields of investment. You spoke about transport, energy, and digital infrastructure as the pillars. But now we have, of course, this situation with the pandemic. And the question is there any ambition to support investment in the large and demanding healthcare infrastructure in the region?
It is out of scope of the strategy of the 3Cs fund. The 3Cs fund is a pure infrastructure fund focused only on these three sectors.
Mm-hmm. Indeed, I can comment. We were actually looking at this because we all know how important the healthcare aspects is. But to be absolutely fair, the nature of investments in the sectors like healthcare are really completely different, both in terms of risks and the length, the duration. So it would be really difficult to align them with the type of investments that currently the fund strategy is focusing on. And indeed, these would be probably attracting completely different kind of financial investors. And
the different scope of competences that we need from the investment advisor. So probably we should open the new investment fund, totally new investment fund, not the 3Cs fund related with the infrastructure only.
Okay, so this is answered. Then we have another question regarding the target of 1 billion euro figure by the end of 2020. The question is that the amount of commitments or the actual size of the fund, and how does it relate with the target size of the fund between 3 and 5 billion euro?
Yeah, this is of course the commitment. Yeah, the actual money that goes into the fund, the money is being paid in pro rata by all shareholders when the actual investments are happening. And you probably may have actually heard that one of the investments happened 2 weeks ago. The fund made its first acquisition in the logistics sector. But then again, this 1 billion we are referring to is the amount of commitments. How does it relate to the target size of 3 to 5? Now the lifespan of the fund is 15 years plus 5 years potential extension. Now the divestment and capital raising is about first 3 to 5 years, and it goes in stages. Now we want to set up make the first closing with the core sponsors to build up the core investor base. Then alongside this, the fund is starting to make the first investments. So it will be like a proof of concept that it actually works, that there is a commitment from the projects, from the fund sponsors, and the demonstration that the fund manager can make investments that are indeed very attractive one and creating value to the other investor, in particular the private investors. And once this is completed, we then go, well, the asset manager, the investment advisor, the fund goes into the financial markets and start actively marketing and attracting the financial private institutional financial investors to join the fund. So this goes in stages. We think the 1 billion will be this stage one. Then we go to the markets, of course, continuing with other potential investors, but then we can build on that towards getting to this 3 to 5 billion size of commitment in the 3 to 5 years.
And it is fair to say that we spend a number of hours not only talking with our colleagues from this region, with the development banks, but we also have the number of economic mission together with our as a BGK, together with our president and together with us prime minister. And we had a number of meetings around the world, in Korea, in Australia, in Japan, in Canada, Israel, Holland, to discuss about the potential of this region and to bring closer the attraction of this region to invest in this infrastructure, because there is a number of private investors who are looking for the best investment and the best rate of return.
Okay, thank you for answering that. Now we have a question for the CEO of Seedbank, Mr. Svilan. So your bank is contributing 23 million euros to the fund. Do you expect additional investors from Slovenia, and who could these investors be?
Well, thank you for the question. Of course, we will participate with this 23 millions. And of course, in this first stage, we are probably alone to join the fund in next months. But of course, additional investors from Slovenia are also possible. Who could that be? It could be from pension funds or other investors, and especially private investors who could be interested to go along with us. And I think there are some opportunities, because it looks like, because I have to stress once again that the fund is really commercial fund and is commercially also driven, which means that of course all investors will get also some return.
Okay, then now we have another Slovenia-related question, probably for all three of you. Are there any projects already identified in Slovenia or related to Slovenia?
If I can start, and then can I start? Well, thank you. Well, regarding the Slovenian projects, of course, you know, there was a list of projects which was in all the countries. And of course, Slovenia put on this list some of the projects. I will mention just few of them, but definitely it is very important to know that this conference is there because we want to introduce how it's possible to join with the project to this initiative. The first project that you all know very well is, of course, the railway second track Koper-Divača, which is something which will be definitely suited very, very completely with these initiatives, because you can join, let me say, or put together 2 or 3 parts of initiatives. One is the transport, let me say, from Adriatic Sea to Baltic Sea. Second is transport in sense of railway. And the third is, of course, cooperation of all these countries on this road, because that kind of, let me say, railway or seaway road will be very, very interesting for all countries in this initiative. Second is so-called Ljubljana railway conjunction or cross railway site, which means that Ljubljana could be implemented in some kind of crossword or crossroad for railways in this sense. And this is something which is already in preparation. like, of course, the first project, which is pretty far away, but of course, there are some difficulties. The third project that was identified is the gas interconnector between Slovenia and Hungary, which is, as you know, probably also already started, let me say, 1 month ago, and could be part of this fund investment. The fourth one is the Syncrogrid, that is investment project of smart networks between Slovenia and Croatia. And this project is also something which could be very interesting. On top of that, of course, it could be also 5G project, which could be for the broad, let me say, network of optics and others, which is necessary to be done in a few years in future. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, these are just some of the projects that were put on the list. You are invited to participate and give additional projects. And of course, today's conference aim is to find the ways how you connect with the new projects to this projects list, and of course to the investment fund who can finance that kind of projects. Thank you, Pavel. The word is yours.
Yeah, just to complete, to the best of my knowledge, the Amber, the asset manager, they have already reviewed over 80, I think it was 85 projects from the region, and these were projects from every single country in the region, and quite a lot of them were being reviewed more closely. So possibly we see some more closing coming, and also, as you mentioned, I think one of the purpose of today's meeting, today's conversation, is to make it widely recognized in Slovenia that the fund exists and what kind of projects the fund is looking for, to make it visible and on the radar of the business community in your country, that more interesting projects can be, if you like, thrown at the fund for reviewing and potentially investing.
If I may to add, it is very important to remember that the total investment money that we need for this region, only for these three sectors, is 600 billion euro. Even if we make a fundraising up to 5 billion euro, it means that we still have a lack of 595 billion euro. And this is why I stress very often, it is very important that the cooperation between our countries, between our governments, how to look at the investment potential and how to build the infrastructure to using the different money, the EU funds, the public money that we are planning for every year, and also how to combine the money from the TRISIS fund together with the public money to build, for instance, some infrastructure in the public-private partnership, sorry, because it is hugely important.
Thank you. We have another question regarding, well, it was mentioned, but are there any projects in the pipeline linking infrastructure between the countries between the three seas?
I think it's fair to say we don't know. As I mentioned, because of the whole independent setup of the fund, we don't really know the details of particular projects until they are brought to the level that they will be presented to the investment committee. But then again, I think the pipeline is over 80 projects, and I know from these 80 that already have been reviewed, about 12 are under stronger focus. I think one of these have, as I mentioned, one of these have materialized in actual investment. And I know there are a couple of more which are pretty advanced. I think, yeah, and again, all sectors the projects were not only coming, luckily, from all the countries, but also from all the three sectors of interest to us, which is the transportation, the logistics, the energy, and the digital.
Thank you very much. You have answered all the questions we actually got in. We're a little pressed with time because the high-level meeting would start shortly. So hereby, I would like to thank to our fellow journalists that you have been with us. Thank you very much for the questions, and of course, thank you very much for your answers. So thank you, Poland. Thank you, Ljubljana. We will shortly start with the high-level meeting at 10 o'clock sharp, with the presentation following then at 1 o'clock for possible investors. So thank you very much to journalists. Thank you for your questions, and thank you, Poland, and as I said, Ljubljana. And for all who are listening now and are scheduled to join the high-level conference, you're now kindly invited to come back to the Confiva platform, lobby or stage, and just change the so-called room. So thank you very much. Enjoy the coffee break in the following 10 minutes, and all the best to you. And of course, stay healthy. Goodbye.
Be healthy. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.